Hello. Hey, hi everyone. Am I audible?
Hi, Amit.
Hi, Amit.
Hi, Amit.
Okay, so let's start. Right. So let me just open up. So we'll just start on the SSMS, right? So we'll open that up like this tool that I asked you all to get installed. So I hope you all were able to install that SQL Server Express Edition or the developer one, basically, not the Express developer one.
What's that, Amit?
SQL Server Management Studio.
SQL Server? SQL Server?
Management Studio.
Management Studio. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So see, I would like to talk about something, right? Like over here. See what happens is, right, like when this entire process of data and all works, right? Now see something, this is like databases and all we have talked about a lot, right? And like in the MySQL also, we try to understand each and everything about the MySQL. So basically, what happens in the industries is now data is something that keeps coming, right? This will keep on coming up, right? There will be new data that will be generated every day, and there will be, like new entries that will be coming into the system. The new data that comes needs transformations also, right? There will be transformations that will be required on that. So there will be a lot of transformations that would be happening on it. Say, suppose there's some bad data that needs to be cleaned, right? There are some rows and columns that are not needed, right? So there are a lot of transformations that are needed on that data after that. So if this is something which is kind of repetitive, if this is something which will keep on coming in and coming out, going out. So if this is repetitive, just a second. Sorry, right? So now this cycle is completely repetitive. So what companies have to do is they automate it, right? What they do, they try to automate it. So how do we automate it? We need some ETL tools, right? ETL over here, E stands for extract, T stands for transform, L stands for load. Okay, these are the three steps that we have. So just try to understand the process, right? Something like what we are talking over here is that we have a data, which some data is in Excel file, some data is in CSV file, some data is coming from various other sources, and this data is somewhere, because every company, they want to maintain a centralized data source, right? Every company wants to maintain a centralized data system. So now when we want a centralized data system, right? So data which is in the multiple sources, it has to be stored at one single place, right? It has to be stored at one single place. So that is where what we do is we use ETL. E over here stands for extract. The data will be extracted from all these sources, right? If that, if that data needs some transformation, right? There are some data that needs to be cleaned or that needs to be removed or anything, then the data will be transformed. And finally, then this delayed data gets loaded in the SQL server, right? These data gets loaded in the SQL server, MySQL, whatsoever database we are using. Getting it? So are you able to get this process?
Yes.
Okay. Right. So now, when it comes to ETL tools, right? ETL tools, there are a lot of ETL tools that are available in the market, right? Like we have Informatica, right? We have SSIS, we have Alteryx, right? We have Oracle Data Integrator, right? So there are multiple tools available in the market now. So what these tools do is they actually help us in establishing this complete ETL process. Okay. And this is where we are going to use the Visual Studio, right? The Visual Studio that you all have installed, and we are going to use SSMS, SQL Server Management Studio. See, SSMS is also something like MySQL only, right? Like all the queries that we have learned, they work exactly the same way over here in the SSMS also. I think in the very starting we had I mean, when the training was started, we got started off with this tool only, but due to that limitation, some of you were using a Mac, so this is not available on the Mac, right? This tool is not available on the Mac. So that is where we had to use MySQL. But mostly, you will all find SQL Server being used a lot in the industries, because we can easily integrate with the other, the ETL tools also. So that is what we will try to understand as a one single process. Okay. So before we do that, right, let's do one thing. Let's all make a quick database over here in the SQL Server. I hope you all have this installed, everyone. Anyone not having, I can share the link to download this.
I'm doing it now, Amit.
Okay.
But it's asking me to restart, so I thought, okay, I'll do it later after the session.
You might need one restart, right? Because while installing it, sometimes asks for restart. So till that it doesn't get properly installed.
Yeah, it's asking me for restart, so I'll do it after the session.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, over here, what we will do is let's make a database first of all, right? Let's make a small database, and so like you had some doubts on the subqueries also, and like some of the doubts on the like I guess we'll talk about stored procedures also and some triggers also. So that is what we'll talk over here right now. Okay, so let's create and open a new query. So when you do this, this is where you can write the queries now, right? So like for example, let's write create database IES. Okay. So once you make the database, just refresh it the list over here. You should be able to see the database over here. Okay. So now in this database, what we will do is let's load some data. Let me share that file with you. Okay. Just sending. No, so I've shared this file on this chat. If you can please, what we will do is we will load this up in the SQL Server. So how we load this data is you right click on the database and you will get an option of tasks, import data. Right, you click on next. And from here, you have to first of all just select the data source. The data source is Excel and select the file. Right, and then click on next. Okay. Now from here, we have to choose the destination. So destination is like we would like to load the data in the SQL Server native client. That's the server. Okay. Then you click on next. Okay. Then you just have to click on next. And you will see the table names. So we have to load the data from orders. Right. Let's just call it as orders. You can remove the dollar sign from here. Right. So that this is the sheet name that we have in the Excel. And this is the table that we want to load in SQL Server. And then you click on next, next, and finish. And the data will be loaded. Right. So this is where what we have. Let's say use IES. And I will say select start from order. If I ask you all right, write a query to fetch the average, the write a query to fetch the number of uh, Right, I'm going to fetch the number of items purchased by the top three, by the top suppliers. So can you do that? You have to find the number of items purchased by the top supplier. Or you write a query to fetch the number of the items per the fetch the number of items. So let's do this one. Yep. Right. See, idea is, we will first of all talk about subqueries. Right. Because when we talk about subquery is all about a query within a query. Yep. Right is right. Going to fetch the number of items purchased by the top. No, it shouldn't be not supplier. Basically, not a supplier. It should be top customer. Right. So what will happen over here is we need to first of all find the top customer in this. Right. So whenever these tasks come in, where it can happen that subqueries is something where you have to start thinking in the logic. You have to start developing the logic, right? And that is where like the concept of subqueries will come into the play. Because as such, what happen is, right, like when it comes to joins, right, you are straight away able to tell that okay, if there are two tables, if there are two or more tables, and we have to pull the data from there, right? So in that case, you understand straight away that join is required, right? But what is happening over here is like when we are talking about overhead subqueries, many a times you will first have to think of the logic, what exactly needs to be done, and what approach will have to be taken up. That is where the process of subqueries will have to come into the play. So it's not like with every question you might not be able to tell right away that whether a subquery will be required in this or not. So once you take a look on the question, you start thinking on the approach. That is where you will have to think of that. Okay, we will need a subquery in this, right? So like for example, if we talk about this question right now, it says write a query to fetch the number of items purchased by the top customer. So what will be the approach in this, everyone? Right? If I talk about this question, the approach would be, first of all, we need to find the top customer, right? That is what we will be requiring. We need to find the top customer. So if I have to find the top customer, so how can I do that? I will say select star from orders, right? Now, if I ask you, right, you have to find the top customer now. So just think of it, how we can find it.
Based on the profit?
Based on the profit, we can find based on the profit or sales. Any one other thing that we can say based on the profit or sales? Right. See, first of all, what you will do is, if I say select customer name, comma, sum of sales from orders, group by customer name. So this will give me the sales, total sales given by each customer. Right. So from here, what I want to do is I have to find the top customer. So even if I now sort this data, if I say order by, the sum of sales, let's call this as sales, order by sales descending. So now how do you think I can I can keep just the name of this customer? So how can I grab the customer name in this, everyone? I just want the customer name from here. See, this output, that I have got over here, this can be treated as a table, right? I can treat this as a table right now, correct? Because the output of the query can be treated as a table. And if I say select top one customer name, see, top one is like you want the first row only. Customer name from, and this we will call it as, when you treat it as a table, let's call it as T. It will just give me top one customer name. Oh, sorry. Right. So we get this up right now. I'm able to fetch the customer name over here. Right. He was a customer. Gordon branded. Right, with the highest sales. Now this customer, I have to find out that how many total products did he purchase? Right? We have to find what is the quantity did this customer purchase. So if I copy this customer name and I write it. So if I come and say that, okay, select the total quantity, sum of, what's the column name? Quantity order name. Select sum of quantity order names from orders where I will say customer name is equal to this. I want this customer name, right? I want the total sum of quantity of this. That is 748. Now, technically, if you see this customer that I have got, this is something I got from this query. So can I use this query over here where customer name equal to, and I put this entire query in this. I get the same number 748. Yep. Is it making sense to all of you?
Can you explain again, Amit?
See, the question was like, for example, first we get the question understanding, right? We want to fetch the total number of items purchased by the top customer, right? Like how many total items were purchased by the customer who is the top customer for us. So the step one over here is, my step one was identify the top customer, right? That is the first step that we have. Now, in order to identify the top customer, what I need to do is, right, I define that, okay, is it by sales or is it by profit or whatsoever. So on the basis of sales, I want to identify my top customer. So for that very thing, what I did was, first of all, I just figured out, let me write a query that is this much. Okay, I'm saying, let me write a simple group by statement. I want to see what was the sales given by each customer. So if I do this, I am able to find the total sales by each customer now, right? And that too in the descending order, I can see it. That, you know, Gordon, I can see is the guy who has given the highest sales. But this query is giving me the complete result, right? As well for each customer total sales. Correct? From here, you know, I can identify that, okay, Gordon is the guy who I am looking out for. So from this table, what I want to do is I only wanted to pick this customer name. See, because my question says find the total quantity of the top customer. Now the top customer is the first thing that I have to find out in the data right now. That's the first thing. Now, if I come over here in this, my top customer is this Gordon branded. So this query is giving me the complete list. So that is where what I did was I said, okay, let me just pick up the first row of this output and just pull the customer name from there. So because see now we will start assuming that, okay, this output is a table. This output is a table. So that is why if you see, I have wrapped this query inside the bracket and given it a name as T. And right then what we are doing is I'm writing a query, select top one customer from this output, whatsoever that output that we have received, that is to be treated as a table right now. So that is where we are picking up just the customer name. So what this query will do, this will just leave me behind with this customer name. Getting it now? Because like this is as a subquery. So in the subquery, the order by doesn't work. So that is why I had written top one over here also. So that this will give me first row only. And from this row also, I have to just pick up the customer name. So I have said select top one customer name.
Amit, why did you add here and again you have added on top one there also, right?
See, if we want, I could have done it from here also, right? Like for example, if I just remove this sales from here, right? So if I just come and put this out in this, sorry, if the sale is not there, we'll have to say sum of sales. Right? I could have got it from here also. I just wanted to add 2-3 layers of subqueries. That is why I have done it this way. See, what I did was that, okay, let's keep it this way, that first of all, I am pulling this first row. Just give me 1 second. Right? So what we did was, like over here, this was giving me one record. And then what I did was, I said, okay, let me write one more query on this and just let me pick up the customer name from there. Right? So when this customer name, so this query started acting as a table. And from on top of that, I've written select top one, that's just the first customer that I have. Just pull that up and only give the name from there. So out of this entire row, this gives me only the customer name. So I got the top customer name. That was my first priority. Right? Make sense, Nilima?
So there also you gave the customer name only, but what is the difference? Because only one record came here also. In the inner query also will get only one record, right?
But this is giving me the customer name and sales both.
Okay.
Right? But I wanted just the customer name.
Okay.
So that is why I wrote one more query that, okay, just pick the customer name from there. So it's just picking that name for me.
Okay.
Because this name is something I have to use in the where clause. So once this is, I'm getting up. So then what I did was I wrote a query that, okay, boss, give me, I'm saying that, okay, select total quantity from orders where customer name is equal to the entire query. Right? So because I wanted to find the total quantity of the Gordon branded. Now Gordon branded was coming with this query. The benefit of this query is that if tomorrow, if I get some new data and the customer changes, if the top customer changes, this query will still give me the output for that only, the top customer.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Right. So now if I ask you, right, so like this is the data that we have. Select star from orders. Okay, let's say, okay, find the sales percentage by product category. Can you try to find this? Like what percent of sales happens, what percent of sales happened in office supplies, furniture and technology?
Bawain తీసుకుని బయటికి పో.
Sorry?
Amit, can you please scroll up? I want to see this query that
Sure.
you already written.
Yep. Right. You have to try this next question over here. Find the sales percentage of product category. Right? What is the sales percentage that was there in that each product category?
ते ट्रेनिंग चल रहे, दो ट्रेनिंग एक्स्ट्रा चल रहा है, कैसा अटेंड करना?
आप कौन सा चल रही?
अब वो पाइथन की खत्म हुई तो रिमेनिंग वाली स्टार्ट हुई ना, अब उधर ऑरेकल की भी चल रही है, कोई नमाज पढ़ेगा तो अपने लेके उधर आता हूँ ना।
Yep. Sales percentage of product category. Right. So if you come in this, right, what we will do is, if I first come, if I say select product category, comma, sum of sales group by product category. Right. So I'll be able to get that up. Right. What we have to do is we have to find the percentage of sales. So if I have to find the percentage of sales, how can I do it? That will be product category, sum of sales. So this has to be divided by the total sale. This has to be divided by the overall sale. Right. So see, always remember, whenever you're working with a subquery,
There is disturbance.
sorry,
Disturbance in your voice previously.
voice is breaking. Can you come again? Hello.
Yeah, sometimes your voice is not clear.
Actually, there is a power cut that had happened over here. My just take a minute. Actually, the router hasn't got up. So just bear with me for 1-2 minutes. It will just be up. Am I audible right now?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So what you have to do over here is find the sales percentage by the product category. So I see that the total sale for each category, right? See, please remember this thing over here that whenever we write subqueries, so there is a process of inner query and outer query. Okay. So always the inner query gets executed first. Inner query gets executed first. Right. So like, for example, now in the above case also, what would be happening is that over here, like you will see that there are multiple queries, right? One query is this, right? But then another query is this. So what will happen is first this inner query gets executed, right? Then this gets executed, and then finally the outer query gets executed. That is the flow of query execution. Okay. So similarly, if I come over here, I say sum of sale divided by select sum of sales. Sum of sales from orders. See, what will now happen over here is this becomes the inner query, and the output of this is going to be used for the outer query. So if I execute this, this is going to give me the percent of sales. See, 25%, 35%, 40%. That will give us total 100%. Getting it?
Amit, here you have taken the sum of sales and again you took it divided by the other one, right? Isn't
So
it
basically,
the
what is
same?
happening? No, no. So see, basically what is happening is this sum of sales that we have. Okay, this sum of sale is of group by command, right? Like for example, if I just copy this and I remove this subquery for a moment right now. So this is actually working for this group by command, this sum of sales, right? That because of this, what is happening is I am getting the sales for each category. This is the sale of each category. This is the sale of each category. This is the sale of each category. So this sum of sale is giving me that number. And when I'm saying, when I want to, because I want to find the percentage of sales for each category. So that is why, what I'm doing over here is I have to divide it by the total. So this query is giving me the total. When I'm saying select sum of sales from orders, this is giving me the overall total. Right? Like if I show you this, so if I run this now, this is going to give me the overall total of this, the complete total sales. So I am dividing the individual sum of sales of category by the overall total, that is giving me the percentage. Make sense?
Yeah.
So all I think there is this power issue that is happening. My light is going on and off. It's not settling it down. Right. So let me keep the stuff up till here for today. Right. So tomorrow we will start it up, and again we will talk about some examples, and then we will start with the Visual Studio as well tomorrow itself. Right. And store procedures. Okay. Thanks, guys. See you all.